Hello and welcome to another episode of Telling Everybody Everything. I am back from a very special work trip to Los Angeles. Special because that was the work trip where I decided to never ever bring any of my family members on a work trip again. Never again. And I feel like travel has gotten harder, maybe purposefully. I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's hard to believe that somebody somewhere isn't trying to keep us grounded. Because air travel, for me anyway, now I didn't have small children, but it felt a lot more straightforward. And now I think a lot of people are reporting that almost every flight is delayed or canceled, or their bags get lost, or something goes wrong. And there was a child on our flight who seemed to be navigating complex medical issues. And I looked at that beautiful child, really happy boy, great family. And I thought to myself, Katherine, shut your mouth about anything else. But I will complain a little bit on here. So we were meant to go to LA. You have heard me plugging this Los Angeles show. And I do feel very grateful to show and tell the promoters for bringing me out to Los Angeles. It's a difficult thing because I'm not there much at all. I haven't been there since I was pregnant with Fenna. So I haven't really cultivated an audience in America. Every time you have a work meeting about doing something in America, the producers and the channels you're meeting with, they go, oh, well, how often are you out here? And I go, no, it doesn't work like that. I'm not just out here kicking it. And if there happens to be a project for me and I'm in town, I'll come on. It's if you offer me a project, then I will get on a flight and come and do the project. But they seem to think of it backwards. So well, when you're out here, it's no. Ask me to be out here. I'll be out here. Violet and I stayed in America for 6 weeks when we were filming The Fix for Netflix. And that's why I was out there, because The Fix invited me to go out there and film it. I wasn't hanging around Netflix studios and there happened to be an opening for a panelist. So anyway, we were meant to go on Monday. Well, I was recording the podcast Sunday night so that you wouldn't have to wait. I received an email, as you know, that said the flight's canceled. And then we were rebooked on one almost 24 hours later. Perfect. So let me tell you about the hell that ensued from that day. You might remember that Fred had a fever. The things were not going well in the house. Bobby and I started to have tickly throats. So there was a looming sense of dread about the trip anyway. It's not the first time that it's happened where we plan to go somewhere and the kids get sick. And either they were meant to come with us and we don't go, or we're going to leave them with a babysitter and we don't because they're not well. Statistically, we have so many kids now. And again, I think people are sicker than they used to be. But it's hard for me to compare because I'm old now, therefore my immunity is not as good. The kids all go to nursery and reception now. But Violet was not this sick. Violet did not have tantrums. She traveled well. She was never sick. And I don't think that's me painting a romanticized version of the past. That is fact. So we wake up in the morning. On the next day, the Tuesday now, we're traveling. And we get to the airport on time and we go to the ticket desk or the check-in desk. Now we're business class and there is a dedicated British Airways area for business. We were originally American Airlines. They are partnered with British Airways. They canceled the first flight, so they put us on a British Airways flight. Instead of going to the Club World area at the far left, the lady at the queue was oh, just come to the business class bag drop. We'll just check you in right here. You're here and this agent can help you. We happened to go to an agent who, and I feel very badly, I don't want to sound ableist when I say that I think he might have had some extra challenges. All right? And I know a lot of people of varying lifestyle. I myself probably have some type of neurodiversity, some type of dyspraxia or dyslexia. I don't know. I don't always do my job perfectly. I know some people who are navigating different ways of attacking challenges and they do it great. They do it amazingly. We had a woman working in our office at high school who had Down syndrome. And this woman was so good at her job. This woman kicked it out of the park. She was friendly. She was organized. Everybody liked her. She was on it. So I'm not trying to be ableist, saying that if you have any type of challenge, then you can't do your job. This man, I think, had two things going on. He was not able to do his job, and I also think he might have had some challenges. I don't know. Or maybe he didn't even work there, is my best guess. I don't think this man was trained by British Airways at all. I think he found a cosplay uniform in a fancy dress shop, and he got off the street that day and he said, I'm like a Walter Mitty character with big aspirations to become a British Airways check-in agent for a day. So I'm just going to walk in. Anyone can walk into the airport off the street. I suppose I could do that. If I had a British Airways uniform, I could get behind the desk and be like, hi, welcome to British Airways. Blop, 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 and pound on the keyboard like I'm in a Peppa Pig episode and pretend to be at work. This guy reminded me of Fenna Grace. She has this keypad that is not attached to a computer. And she goes, blop, 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 I'm at work, blop, blop, blop. And she presses all the buttons and she answers a Minnie Mouse phone. This is this guy. When Fenna does that, she's got a little name tag. She's got a cash register that is made of wood. That was this fucking guy. So we walk up to the desk. I have on the app, the British Airways app on my phone. It tells me my seat number. It tells me what flight it is. I could not check in from my phone because I was traveling with an infant. On that occasion, you have to present yourself to the desk and show the baby's passport. Otherwise, I would have been checked in. I had everything on my phone. I go up to the gate and I say, hi, we're flying to LA. And he takes our passports. He goes, no, I can't find you on the flight. You don't have a ticket. I go, well, we do have a ticket. He goes, no, you don't. I was like, okay, well, look at my app. This is the flight number. He goes, do you have your ticket number? I was like, well, my original ticket number, sir, was canceled yesterday. I can give you that if you want. He's like, oh, well, this is American Airlines. They haven't transferred you over properly to British Airways. I don't know. I can't find your ticket number. Will you tell me your original one? I tell it to him. He's like, will you tell it to me again? I tell it to him again. He's like, well, we're going to have to call ticketing. So he rings up literally the number that you and I would ring if we were stood in the parking lot. I said, you don't have a direct line to ticketing? He goes, no, we just have to call up this number. And I don't know if they're in today. I said, I bet they are in today because it is Tuesday and they have flights departing. So why would no one from ticketing be in today? By the way, I'm saying this all very nicely because I have a public profile and I don't act like a cock in public. I save it for the podcast. So I was just like, okay, and now time's ticking and ticking and ticking. And I'm worried that we're going to miss this flight, basically. He's taken an hour to do this. I'm like, what time does the bag drop close? He's like, don't worry, you have plenty of time. The bag drop closes 35 minutes before departure. And I was like, okay, well, you are taking hours of our lives. And we also have to get through security with the baby. And I'm worried at this point we're going to miss the flight. Bobby loses all faith in this man. Bobby's like, you don't know what's going on. I'm sick of just waiting for you to be on hold with this imaginary ticketing office that may or may not even be in the office. And this is what I was saying. Other people would walk by and go, can you help us? Can you help us? Could you help us? And they were all just trusting this guy. They're like, no, you've got someone helping you. I was like, no, I don't. He's on hold with ticketing and ticketing aren't answering. And there's no alternative action. If that were me, I'm such an action person. I wouldn't sit there on hold with a customer in my face holding a baby. I'm holding Holland this entire time. Luckily, she was acting great. I'm feeling sick now. Fred had a fever the day before. I have a fever today. And I feel like my throat hurts. I'm coughing. I have a general sense of dread. Bobby runs over to the main business and club check-in and he starts talking to, guess what gender? A lady who immediately gets further along than this guy got in an hour and a half. Bobby comes back to me. He goes, this guy's still on hold. This lady's motoring now. So we have to run over here and try to make the flight. So I was like, all right, sir, we're just going to walk over there. And he goes, oh, all right, well, sorry, I couldn't be more helpful. And I said, me too. I wasn't going to say, that's okay. It wasn't okay. I knew by now we had missed the flight. So we go over to the lady and she was awesome. She was like, look, you will miss this flight, but I found what happened. Yes, American Airlines didn't totally properly transfer your ticket over, but we found it. and we're going to get you on the next flight. At this point, I had to walk away because I knew I was being an asshole. I started tearing up, not like sobbing, crying, but I knew that I think it's because of everything ahead of me. When you are like a private citizen and you don't have kids, you think, I just get on the flight and I'll put my headphones in, I'll have a rest, like just get past this next thing and then there will be a rest. Do you know what I mean? I think everybody does that with their schedule. We go, all right, we got a lot of hard things ahead of us and then the break is coming when? In 7 days I have a day off, or in this many days or this many hours I can close my eyes and go to bed. When you have small children, that doesn't exist. So I knew I'm staring down the barrel of another delay, and not only after that, after the delay, I have to get on a 11, 12-hour flight with an infant who solely depends on my body as a food source, my energy as a source of comfort. The timing was all off. I knew she was going to be awake for a long time, and Bobby can't really help me. He does help me. He does as much as he can, but he can't be as effective in the same number of hours that I can. Like, she just wants me more. I have to feed her. It's not his fault, but it does mean that a lot falls on me. And I was just feeling frustrated because I knew we were sick. I knew I was going to be awake this whole flight. Then I knew I was going to land and be dealing with Holland in a weird time zone. Then I was going to have to wake up and work. I was already missing a podcast. Like, I was thinking of 1,000 things, and I don't cry when I get sad. I cry when I get frustrated. So I was just like, I can't be crying about something stupid like a flight, but I am tearing up over like exhaustion and sickness and frustration. So I'm going to go for a walk. So I just started like walking around the airport. And when I rejoined Bobby, he was like, okay, we're on a different flight in 5 more hours. And it was just the frustration of like knowing that it was luck, like just bad luck that we went to this guy who had no idea what was going on. And even now I'm really mindful not to hurt his feelings, even though he absolutely ruined my day. And I don't understand how there isn't a standard of education about how to work at an airline. Like, if this woman could figure it out, why couldn't you figure it out? Like, who is doing the quality control around here? Also, he had to look at my visa, like during his long hold with the ticketing office, and he had no idea what he was looking at. He was like, this is not a visa. And I said, right, well, I'm a Canadian citizen, so I am exempt from what you would normally consider a visa, but I have to submit this like I-797, and all of these papers and the approval are here, and I take this to Homeland Security in the US and they grant the final thing. Like, this is how it works with Canadian visas. I don't know what to tell you. He's like, no, I've never seen this before. I was like, okay, well, whose fault is that? Like, I use Gemini, again, my little AI app. And I was like, how does a 1797 work? And Gemini's like, well, it works like this, blah, 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 blah. Like, why doesn't he have that facility? If you are someone who looks at documents, then you shouldn't be looking at documents unless you've been trained how to read that document. So anyway, by now I need some type of win. So I said to Bobby, and Bobby's like, let's go to the lounge. I said, fuck the lounge. And I hate lounges anyway. I said, you and I are going to the Sofitel Hotel, which is attached to Terminal 5. You just go through like a little jetty walkway, and I just need to lay down in a hotel. I need this baby to stretch her legs out. I need to properly breastfeed her because my milk supply, that's another thing, was plummeting. And any exclusively breastfeeding mother will tell you that there is such an emotional link to the success or failure of your supply. What I hadn't realized in my illness is that in retrospect, I should not have taken Sudafed. Sudafed will dry up your cough and your sinuses and your milk, apparently. So I'm feeling like death. Bobby and I have chills. We're hot, we're cold, we're sweating, we have fevers. We have a baby now in a hotel room. And I loved the experience at the Sofitel. I was only there for 5 hours, but I had a lovely full English breakfast. I was able to pump a little bit more milk. I was able to have a 1-hour nap. So now I'm recharged. I have a positive attitude. I'm ready for the flight. The flight, without getting into detail, was hell. I love British Airways. I've had a long-standing, like, really wonderful relationship. I have never, ever had a bad word to say about their cabin crew. They are just the kindest, most friendly, most accommodating, effective cabin crews like ever. I love them. But there's something going on, and I'm not a nerd who like knows all the different planes. Like my tour manager, Annie, whom I love very much, she always knows like what kind of plane it is and like what the seating layout is and how many seats are left somehow. Like Annie has this inside plane information, but I don't. So I get on, and again, I'm in business class, but for those of you in coach, please know that you have been so smart with your money. Because whatever this British Airways like style plane was right now, they have the most rickety, crickety piece of shit business class of any airline that I have ever flown. And are we going business like to Madrid? No, we're going business to fucking Los Angeles that is 12 hours away. There was no room in the seat for me to hold Holland without her head being like dangerously in the aisle to get like smashed by a drinks cart. American Airlines business class has like 4 people across. So like 1 on the window, aisle, 2 in the middle, aisle, 1 on the window. This British Airways plane has 7 across, 7, and no privacy. Like the person next to you is right in your face. And there's a little window you can close, but there's a weird like passive aggressive language about like who's gonna do that and when. I told you another episode that I had to pay 1,000 Great British pounds for the privilege of holding Holland that entire flight. I get on the plane and, oh, by the way, in the switch, Bobby was demoted from business class. They were like, yeah, we can get you on this flight 5 hours later, but there's only one. First, they said there's no business class, and we were both gonna have to sit in premium. And then I piped up and I was like, excuse me, do you have one business class? Because I'll be holding a baby, and when I land, I have to work. And Bobby, like, sorry, but I'm taking that business class seat if there is one. Mind you, I have paid for business class on another airline. So they go, yeah, we have one business class seat then. You can have it. I said, thanks. And Bobby was in premium. So we checked a few extra times, like at the gate. We checked on our way to the flight, like, did any business class seats become available? Because my husband did pay for business class. So many things were fucked up, and now he's on premium. They're like, no business class available. So we're about to take off. Bobby's in premium. I'm in the rickety-crickety British Airways business class. And the flight attendant says to the guy next to me, are you traveling alone? He said, yeah. And she said, oh, would you like this window seat over here? And then this mother can have this seat empty to maybe put her baby down at some point. And I was like, well, I thought there was no extra business class. So apparently somebody didn't show up. The guy's like, yes, I would love to move away from the baby and sit at the window. Great. So now I'm in business with an empty seat next to me. And I said to the lady, excuse me, thank you so much for giving me this extra room. And like, I can't really put my baby in her own seat. I didn't say this, but like, if I could, it is a nice gesture. I said, but my husband paid for a business class seat. And then we were changed over to this flight. We were told there wasn't any business. Can my husband move up from premium and have this seat? And she was like, no. I said, no. She's like, no, because like we don't have that ticketing information. That's something that should have been sorted on the ground. I said, I'm in complete agreement with you that it's something that should have been sorted on the ground. Yet it wasn't, because they told us there was no availability, and now there is. And she'd rather give the seat to my baby than my husband, who we can prove paid for a business class seat. She's like, no, that should have been sorted on the ground. I was like, okay, awesome. So that was not possible either. So we fly. We land, we get to the hotel. The baby did sleep a bit, but she wasn't happy sleeping unless I held her a certain way. Like, I could not sleep. There have been times in my life that I could sleep holding a baby. This was not one of those times. And then when we landed, it was nighttime, like 6 p.m., and we just went straight to bed. The baby woke up after 1 hour, and then she started her day, her mother effing day, like began in the dead of night. And we were so sick at this point, like so much more sick than we had been before. Bobby, who I'm not even used to sleeping with, was like soaking the bed in sweat, having nightmares. I heard him saying in the middle of the night, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Now he's upset with me because I'm not like taking care of him. I'm upset with him because we are on a work trip and I have to work when we wake up. from being awake. It's a lot of pressure on me anyway, I think, to travel without the kids, to travel with Holland, to be breastfeeding, to have low milk supply, to be sick, to have to go to meetings. Like, it was just a complete fucking nightmare for everyone. And the only thing that I will say is there's no more wonderful place to be living a nightmare than the Four Seasons. So we're having these horrible things happen to us on the backdrop of privilege. Like, yeah, I was in business class, but it was hell. Yes, I stayed at the Four Seasons, and they're so accommodating, but it was hell, and we never readjusted. I missed the podcast that I was most excited about. The show, thank you so much to those of you who came to the show, was really great. A much better turnout than I anticipated. And so, like, all those episodes where I was selling the show, I so appreciate it. I appreciate my friends who came out when, like, last minute, I just begged them, like, just please come to the show. If you have nothing else going on, please come. I got to see Andrew. Andrew brought like 10 people with him. Overall, I'm happy we did it. But this is why I don't go. And when I was stood at the airport feeling sick, knowing that I was about to get sicker. And by the way, this is the sickest Bobby says he's ever been in his life. I wouldn't go that far because I wasn't puking. And for me, like, puking sick is the sickest anyone can be in their life. But it was hell. It was bad. It was like some type of cross between COVID, pneumonia, like a head cold. I don't know what it was, but it was not good. And all that I can say is thank God the baby never got sick. But she terrorized me. I thought she was young enough that a time zone wouldn't matter, but I was dead wrong. 2 of the podcast interviews were with female comedians, which is amazing. I love female comedians. We're all like a little community. We're extra nice to each other. I suppose I can say now, I was on the Juicy Scoop with Heather McDonald and Endless Honeymoon with Moshe Kasher and Natasha Leggero. I was like glazing Natasha at the end, just being like, I've always loved your stuff and I just think you're so talented. And Moshe was standing right there. And I also think he's amazing. But I just turned to him and I said, sorry, because I didn't have the level of glaze to say. And this is something that I think male comedians hopefully understand about female comedians. We have this reverence for one another, and it was really important that I said what I had to say to his formidable wife. And we talked about having kids, and the subject of motherhood came up, I think, in both of these interviews because it's relevant, and it just feels so defeating sometimes. And this is what was going through my head at the airport when I was faced with canceling or accepting another 5-hour delay because of this man's fucking insolence. I really don't want to hurt his feelings, and I keep saying horrible things about him, and that makes me feel bad. He maybe had a bad day where he stopped understanding his own computer. I don't know. But I stood there, and I think part of why I was crying is, well, I wasn't outwardly crying, but I was like whimpering to myself, was just the inner turmoil of like, oh, I'm not allowed to cancel. Like, I know that I can't cancel. I'm not someone who cancels. I don't want to actually cancel, but things are so much harder for me because of choices I've made. Like, it's hard not to be resentful, and it's hard not to compare yourself to men when, like, I know for a fact that a male comedian in my position would just be going on this trip alone. If his wife had a newborn, like, that would not concern him. And if he decided to bring his wife and the newborn, he would get on the flight and he would put headphones on and he would get to sleep for most of it. And then maybe he'd hold the baby for a bit and he'd do one of the feeds and he would help out. But like, ultimately, if I was the wife and my male partner was going to do this work, I would either not come on the trip or I'd go, I'm on holiday this trip and I'm going to look after the baby. Even though I'm sick, I'm going to really like make it so that he can be rested and he can perform his best so that we can pay our mortgage. And it's not Bobby's fault. Michelle Wolf has material about how it is the babies who are misogynists. And it's true. Like, the baby at this age rejects the dad. So what are the moms supposed to do? Are we supposed to like take 1 year off and just not do any of the work? Well, that is not a financially viable solution. I stood in that airport and I knew that if I canceled this trip, I would never go to LA again. If I canceled this trip, then the people who were traveling to see me, who had had a canceled trip before, that wasn't my fault, that was all like visa stuff, they were just going to learn never to trust me again. They were going to be like, okay, that's enough cancellations. I will never buy a ticket to see Katherine Ryan ever again. And she's fucked me off because I've lost hotel money and flight money and whatever else. So I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to fire my manager. Like, that's everything that would happen if I didn't go on that trip. I'd have to just wash my hands of America completely and be like, I can't manage to get there. So, and like, these are choices I've made. But in these meetings and stuff, when people are like, when are you going to be out here again? I'm not coming out here. When? What am I going to do? Just like bring my whole family, take everyone out of school and fly like 3 under 4 to what? Like live in an apartment in LA for 2 months and like go on auditions? I'm not going to do that. Am I going to leave them at home and come by myself? I'm not going to do that. So like, when am I going to be out here again? I don't know, 15 years from now? 15 years from now, I might come out here and just like chill. But until then, you offer me a job and I will carve out a specific amount of time to attend and be here for the job. But I have absolutely fucked my professional life in the interim just by being a woman who wanted to have kids and who doesn't want to neglect my kids. Like, you can be a certain kind of mother, I suppose, and be like, well, I'm off to LA for a month. I saw a young woman from Love Island, Montana Brown, has got all this flack, let's call it, or certainly attention for talking about dads who take a bunch of time off to pursue like athletic endeavors. And it really made me laugh because she wasn't speaking about anyone in particular as far as I could see. And then for some reason, all the media were like, she's talking about Spencer Matthews. Spencer Matthews is doing another race. Spencer Matthews is climbing a mountain. Spencer Matthews is skydiving again. Like, whatever he's doing, a triathlon, like his mental health and sense of achievement, I think, is very much linked to these like feats of strength. And I commend someone who recognizes that, like, okay, who I am, even as a parent, matters. And the example that I set for my children is linked to like the things in my life that I achieve. Fine. She never even said his name. But I think it is a little bit different for moms with small children. And I would commend a mom for doing the same thing. If a mom was like, to feel good about myself and to set an example of excellence for my children, this is what I need to go out and do. Like, I would commend her, but I am not that mom. Also, my kids cannot like stay here and just be raised by Bobby on sausages. They can't. He's too nice. Bobby's behavior is so warm and sweet, but it has made me understand the need for a right-wing government in America. Because if you don't give people in a society, and we've created a little society in our house, if you don't give them an oppressor, then they will just go fucking rogue. And I need to stay home sometimes and be that oppressor, because if not, the kids are just so good at having Bobby wrapped around their fingers, and he becomes Joe Biden in this house. He's like, all right then. Okay, kids. Fenna, you're throwing toys at us again? Let me just scoop you up and tell you how much I love you. No, I'm ice in this house. It was very nice to see in America, with everything going on, that ICE is no longer a racist organization. Because the last time I was there, if you wanted to be shot in the face by untrained federal thugs, you had to be full Mexican. But now you could be white and shot in the face by them too. You could be like a harmless white lesbian and ICE will come banging down your door. Okay, Andrew has sent me some talking points and some photos of some of the fashions at the Grammys. So let's take a quick break. And why don't you Google some of these up if you haven't seen them yourself? We'll go through them together because yikes. All right, it was Grammy's weekend in Los Angeles as Bobby and I were leaving with baby Holland. Traffic started getting wild. The Four Seasons was heaving with rappers. There were lots of Grammy parties all over the city, and one of the Four Seasons was like super hip hop, which is annoying because I didn't recognize anyone. I was quite preoccupied, and that was the day we left. It was our only good day. We had 2 hours of good. At the very end of it, Holland started kind of adjusting to the schedule, which is bad because now we've been home 2 nights and she is not adjusted to the UK schedule. But we actually got a good sleep on the last night after the show. Not a great sleep, but like a good sleep. And then I had a meeting on the day that we left. After that meeting, we had 2 hours. 2 hours of good between noon and 2. We went out to the swimming pool. I saw my friend Miguel, who is like in charge of the swimming pool area. And that's the good thing about the Four Seasons. They've always got the same staff. It means they treat everyone well and people are happy to be there. And we had these delicious nachos and a cold white wine by the pool. We took Holland for a little swim and we saw this fucking hilarious guy. Oh my gosh. I wish so badly that I could post the photo, but it's just not ethical. Oh my gosh. I'm going to see if I can just show it to camera now. This guy. Okay. I'm going to try to like cover his face with my thumb. Okay. There was this complete, I'm showing, oh, it won't really show. Right? Have you ever seen man spreading like this? So I see this hunk who sort of looks like Joe Montanito or something. Like, do you remember this guy called Joe who used to be married to Sofia Vergara for a long time? This guy, I see him in the lobby in like full spandex workout gear. And he's got his hands on his hips and his legs wide open. This is not like the Four Seasons is quiet luxury, okay? You don't usually see stuff like this. This guy was in the lobby, stood by the concierge desk with his like long, oily black hair, like slicked back, kind of tussled in the wind. Even though there was no wind at the concierge desk, he's like stood there with his hands on his hips like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, just being like, mwah, ha, ha. And I don't know who he was talking to or what he was laughing about. But as soon as I saw him, it really tickled me. Like it really made me laugh. And it wasn't even that funny. It's just like I think he was just too cartoon hunk for me. Like, I don't know what it was. I just found it so funny. And I forgot about it. I got in the lift. And then we saw him again by the pool, putting oil on himself, but like one small drop at a time. He'd like put out some oil, put it on his chest, and then stop. And then 10 minutes later, more oil on his chest and then stop. He was man-spreading. Like he was sat on one pool chair and he had his legs open and the other leg on the pool chair beside him. That's how much he was man-spreading. And I can only conclude that it's because he wanted to tan like the insides of his legs. He didn't want to have white legs. And he was drinking a bottle of Dom Perignon. A bottle of Dom with one glass, and he had a little vape between his legs that he kept hitting as well. And I saw him and I said, oh my gosh, Bobby, you got to check out this hunk. And Bobby's like, what hunk? Why are you obsessed with the hunk? I said, it's the only way to describe him. You got to see this hilarious fucking hunk. And Bobby and we had a great time people watching him. I don't know what his career would have been. Like, is he a model? Is he a famous person I meant to recognize? Is he in the adult film industry? Because a lovely lady soon joined him, and she was super beautiful, but like in a very LA way, if you know what I mean. Like in an LA 2002 Playboy Mansion way. She was wearing a thong. She had a thin little tanned body, super blonde, like done hair, makeup by the pool, big glasses, huge boobs, like the kind of boobs that you don't even see around here. Lovely couple, but I don't know why I found them so funny. I still don't know why I found them so funny, but I did try to show you a little bit of the photo covering his face. So If you're listening to the podcast, go look on YouTube and you might see like a little bit of this photo. I'll try to show it to you again. My God, like I've just never seen anything funnier. Why is it so funny? It's the man spread for me and the Dom Perignon. Like, come on. And the little vape between his legs. Who sits like that? And I don't want to shame people. It's not my business to be like if he was a 16-year-old girl making me laugh and I took a picture of him in a bathing suit, that wouldn't be okay. I don't think it's really ever appropriate to take a picture of someone in a bathing suit. But as long as I blur out his identity, and I have to tell you why, it's the man spread. I'm not trying to perv on him. I've never seen anything so funny in my life. So anyway, this big party at the Four Seasons was super hip hop. I didn't know anyone, but I was told that it was for a Grammy's party. And these are some of the Grammy's looks that Andrew has forwarded over that have caught his eye. Beginning with Rosé. Now, she is from New Zealand, born in New Zealand rather, but she is the K-pop Blackpink lead singer. And to her credit, this outfit is black and pink, but it is a very unfortunate silhouette otherwise. I don't know who makes this. I don't know why they would make it. It sort of reminds me of Holland in the middle of the night when I have swaddled her in a muslin and it's somehow shimmied down her body and is no longer fit for purpose. Kind of looks like a nappy. It's like a little black mini dress with some pinkish white fabric over it. I don't know. I'm old. Billie Eilish in Hodakova. This is tough for me because I really appreciated what she had to say. She gave a very political speech. She seems like, even though she grew up a Nepo baby in privilege, just very well connected to like the goodness of the world and people and what they need. And the way that she dresses now is giving like Scottish wedding. I don't like it. I don't like her personal style, but I appreciate that she has one, and she always has. Lola Young and Vivienne Westwood. I mean, I knew the song. I always loved the song. Did I know that this was like just a humble girl from South London? I did not. I'm not sure how you would style her differently. I love the like dark outside lip liner and the little fake freckles and the good blush, good lashes, good hair. Very nice glam on Lola Young. I'm happy that she won for her song. I love Westwood. I don't know what else I would style her in. She is dressed like Lee Francis, and I like how Lee Francis dresses. Is this the way to dress a young girl at her first Grammys? I haven't seen any other options, but I don't hate it. Ali Wong and Vivienne Westwood, okay, I hate it. And these are both Westwood looks, but they could not be more different. Are we sure this is Westwood? I mean, does a person who wears glasses, like, do they not get red carpet glasses? Do you know what I mean? Do you wear your same glasses? And this is just a genuine from a place of curiosity. Do you wear your same glasses in the daytime, like to the school run, to the library? Would you wear those glasses to the Grammys, red carpet? Or would you maybe take off your glasses and have contacts? Or would you have like red carpet glasses? Because everything else on your body is different from like your daytime look. And I think that these are just her daytime look glasses. Like, they're not fancy. I don't like the earrings. I don't like the hair, and I don't like the dress, but I do like Ali Wong. Oh God, Morticia and Gomez. Katie Price and Justin Trudeau turned up at the Grammys, and why wouldn't they? I will say this for Katy Perry, she's got a butt that won't quit. I don't know if it's like a little BBL we're looking at, or if it's from lots of dancing and touring, but I don't need to know. All I can say is Justin Trudeau does not deserve access to that butt. And you know he's getting it because he looks smug in the photo. His outfit's good though, like all black. I don't hate that. Tyla and D Squared. D Squared are Canadian brothers, designers. I like feathers. I like embellishments. I like that Tyla's a little bit covered up for a change. And I also like to see her not covered up doing her sexy little girl dancing. Get it. Zara Larson and Kevin Germanier. So it is a yellow two-piece. We've got some tasteful cleavage showing. You know, there's tasteful cleavage on a young girl, and there's me cleavage at the minute. I've got a red carpet on Thursday, and I honestly don't know what to wear because my tits are so huge. It becomes an obstacle. You know what I mean? There were some looks that I saw. I saw this beautiful black Yves Saint Laurent dress with like boning at the neck, a really interesting neckline with huge tits. It doesn't work. So Zara Larsson makes this work. She's got nice little abs. And I think this bright yellow with all the embellishment and the beachy hair and the earrings, it really echoes how she looks on tour. So if you haven't seen on TikTok yet, you should look because it's so joyful. She's got this popular song from 2016 that has like a dance number and the audience knows the dance, and she'll pull up, usually, you better hope, a young gay man who absolutely kills the dance. And her little bum and her little body look so cute in her tour outfits. Somber in Valentino. I don't know who Somber is. It's a young man with lots of curly hair. He looks somber. And he also looks like his suit doesn't fit. The trousers are too long. Oh, the pointy shoes are a little rock and roll. I like the see-through lace shirt underneath, but these sequins look cheap. This does not look like Valentino elevated sequins. It looks a little yucky. Ooh, so 3 boys dressed the same. We've got Malice, Pusha T, and Pharrell Williams, all in Louis Vuitton. It's like a salmon velvet, no tie, open white shirt underneath. These 3 are giving Temptations, kind of a flared trouser, weird looking black round toe school shoes. I mean, I usually like Louis Vuitton. I can't say that I like this. I don't like it, but like A for effort, matching's fun. Tate McRae and Balenciaga. So she is wearing a lovely diamond necklace. My friend does her makeup sometimes. I don't know if she's done it on this day, but I would guess without looking, I don't think my friend did this makeup. I'm going to have a producer check. Hang on. No, my friend did not do her makeup. And if she did, she didn't put it on her Instagram. Wait, let me check the stories just to be sure. No, she did someone else who looks good. She did not. And it shows. Do you know what I mean? You need to get this girl doing your makeup. Tate McRae's makeup has looked better. Okay, she's got black gloves, like a fitted body, and then this weird kind of skirt. I don't like that. FKA Twigs and Paolo Carzana. I mean, it's very FKA Twigs. She's got this, like, it's giving Another Battle. You know that film? It's like a little bit Mad Max. She's got a flower and a book in her hand. I really dislike the closed-toe shoes, but she's got like tights on. But look, FKA Twigs is an artist. If she feels like this is what she needs to wear, fine. Cat's Eye. Is that another K-pop band? Who are these girls? No, I don't know about girl bands anymore. They're a band of 6 girls, which is too many. They're wearing Ludovic de Saint-Serbian, which is like a bunch of different takes on white lace. You know, it's giving like naughties, but I think in the best way. I think that's what's back and we have to accept it. I don't know who Lainey Wilson is. She's got a cowboy hat on. She's a very beautiful girl, really big eagle-looking necklace, crazy black dress, loads of rings. I don't dabble in country. Maybe that's what's happening. Pink Pantheress and Vivienne Westwood. A lot of Westwood on the carpet. My favorite look that I have seen is Olivia Dean in Custom Chanel. She won Best New Artist. And it's like Chanel knew that was going to happen. Ugh, like the hair is giving class, the earrings. I love this amount of embellishment, like good feather. It's kind of got a black bodice and then a big white skirt, very Chanel, but like modern. Lady Gaga looks like Lady Gaga. Sabrina Carpenter wore Valentino. A lot of Valentino on the carpet as well. How anybody makes anything teensy enough for her? Like, who knew they did Baby Valentino? Okay, Justin Bieber performed in his boxers. He looked good on the carpet. The look everyone is discussing, though, is Chaperone in Mugler. How do you say Henry? Mugler? I should know how to say that. I think it's Mugler. But her nips were out, basically. She did a very Bianca Censori, like, red carpet reveal where she had a cape covering the nips at first. All of the color, including her hair and the outfit, is sort of like a burnt amber, like a red, orangey thing. She takes off the cape, and lo and behold, the rest of her outfit starts at the nips and is just like a sheer dress being held on by her nipple rings. And I could not applaud this more, because even though I'm not a chaperone person, because my joy has been stolen, and I'm never going to be at a live music event being like, Pink Pony Club, like I just don't have that level of heart and soul left to sing out. Like I leave it for the people who have that fire inside them, and mine is dead. I appreciate who she is as an artist. I like that this is giving almost FKA Twigs. You know, it's sexy, not for a male gaze. It's like fashion, but not for the fashion world. It's something she wanted to do. It's provocative. And she's beat the system because she colored her nipples out. And nipples don't count as nipples if they're white. They only count if they're pink. So I don't know how she's done it. If she's had her nipples surgically removed, I don't know if this is like a very sheer bodice underneath that we can't see, but her nipples are colorless. Therefore, she's allowed to have them on show. What can anyone say? And she didn't wear this for the television broadcast. She changed outfits. And this was, it's eye-catching. And it makes me even more excited about the time that I'm finished breastfeeding and I get to have like manageable tits again. Good for her. Well, if the massive delays at American Airlines were not traumatic enough, the bad news kept coming this week. Of course, we lost Canadian comedy queen Katherine O'Hara on Friday at the tender age of 71, and I was awake. And I was in Beverly Hills when the ambulance was called at 4:55 a.m., and I did nothing to stop it. I feel like I was so close I could have done something. TikTok changed ownerships and algorithms this week. A new onslaught of extremely graphic Epstein files was released, and I will not go into those here. You can Google it if you're looking to vomit and cry. Anyhow, I thought we would do a little timeline cleanse for Telling Everybody Everything listeners this week and rehash a truly bonkers story of true crime originating out of Toronto, Canada. A lovely little treat from Andrew this week. Here are the facts and figures. Oliver Carafa, a Slovakian expat to Canada with the type of dirty blonde, pouty bad boy look that 20 years earlier would have made him prime target for Lou Pearlman to put in a boy band. Loved cosplaying as an entrepreneur, hustled like it was going out of style, and told anyone who'd listen he'd be a millionaire before age 30. In other words, he was a parade of little red flags. Yun Lu Lucy Lee. This is a self-described high-achieving, braces-wearing nerd in high school. Lucy Lee was one of 3 fraternal triplets born to Chinese-Canadian financial advisor parents in the lap of luxury. At only 17, she got accredited as an insurance broker and started working for her mother's firm. But after graduating from television's Katherine Ryan's very own alma mater of Toronto Metropolitan University, which was formerly called Ryerson, but we had to change it because of slavery, she wanted to take a gap year. Her mother gave her a monthly allowance of $5,000, which she used to finance cosmetic procedures clearly modeled after the Kardashians and beach vacation photo ops posting on TikTok alongside the other thought-curious sisters as the Mia triplets. And you should see them. These are some pretty... Well, no, they're not that hot. I was going to say these are some pretty hot triplets. They're not that hot. They're very enhanced triplets. And you have to assume everything's photoshopped or filtered. So if this is photoshopped and filtered on top of how mediocre it is, then they're really not hot. But they've got the goods. Nice little bodies. They've had chin filler. That's obvious here. Lovely long hair. Pretty girls. And triplets, there's a power with triplets. Okay. So Oliver and Lucy met attending high school in Toronto. They dated briefly, but Lee apparently couldn't hold Carafa's attention, something she refused to take as a sign from the universe, but more on that in a bit. After high school, Oliver, and that's Carafa, but Andrew didn't want to type Carafa anymore because it kept autocorrecting to Carafe. Carafe, so he's Oliver now. After Oliver had a fateful night of bar hopping where he insisted on driving his friend home with a blood alcohol level 3 times over the legal limit, reaching over 100 kilometers in a 50 km zone, and driving into a pole, splitting the vehicle along. He killed his friend in that crash. Oliver was miraculously unscathed by the accident, but he was found guilty of 4 charges and sentenced to 5 years in minimum security prison. Of course, while there, he was found conspiring to smuggle in drugs, so then he was moved to a medium security and denied parole, with the prison board writing that his behavior was, quote, indicative of a young man with an abnormal sense of entitlement. He was finally granted parole until 2017. Freshly sprung from the clink and now going by Oliver Knox, he retrained his sights on getting rich, and he reconnected with a freshly glowed-up Lucy Lee. The two moved in together after 2 dates, eventually settling into a 2-story condo near Yonge and Eglinton, dangerously close to Carrie Ryan's flagship Clinique de Mode location. This story just keeps getting closer and closer to home for us. She loved that he was a bad boy, and he loved that she loved him being a bad boy, recalls a friend of Oliver's. Because of his impaired driving conviction, Oliver had no license, so Lee drove him everywhere in her Mercedes, which he no doubt also loved. If this was a movie, it would be the end of Act 1. In May 2020, the two planned on vacationing in Europe, but were stopped at the airport due to pandemic restrictions, barring travel to non-EU citizens. The two managed to find a Zoom officiant to marry them on a video call, and Lee was able to board the flight as a newly Canadian-Slovakian bride. The two kicked around lockdown Europe for months until it dawned on Oliver that personal protective equipment, PPE, was in short supply. So he started selling masks and gloves imported in bulk at an outrageous markup. The potential for profit was real, but they needed a serious investor to give them steady cash flow. Enter Tyler Pratt, a 6-foot, 222-pound tatted-up cocaine dealer who routinely pulled in $1 million in a single day. A new dad with young children in Vancouver and another on the way, with a former erotic dancer named Jordan Romano, he was looking to leave the Scarface life behind and move into more legitimate, or at least less criminal, ventures. So Pratt started bankrolling this PPE grift to the tune of $500,000, and the two couples developed a working friendship. However, here's where the clouds start to gather. The European supply chains were catching up. Oliver's business was flopping, and he was amassing massive losses. Instead of coming clean to Pratt, Oliver forged financial documents claiming that they were each making a dubious $69,000 in profit on every shipment. By January 2021, Pratt wanted his initial investment back, plus some interest. A concerned Oliver promised to have $500,000 ready by March 1st. Pratt wasn't the kind of business partner who would serve him with a subpoena. Oliver knew about a former associate of Pratt's who had recently been gunned down in a Vancouver parking lot. So this is where Lucy's financial background comes in. She promised Pratt and Romano a $1.5 million life insurance policy through her mother's company with extremely sus terms. She told them that if they pay the first premium in cash, Oliver could direct their fictional Euro PPE profits to cover further premiums they could borrow against and effectively evade Canadian taxes. She falsified documents to buy some time. That's when Oliver had the ultimate brainchild. What if we just murder them? Then they could keep their money and run another comm. Seems simple, right? Using Google Maps, he found an abandoned warehouse in the steel manufacturing town of Hamilton. It's effectively the Canadian Sheffield for those of us in the UK. And the two arranged for Pratt and Romano to meet them there the day before the money was due. Why would the retired drug dealer and erotic dancer agree to meet at an abandoned warehouse, despite their history of excellent decisions? Well, Oliver told them it was owned by Lucy's mother and it would be a great location for their next business venture, a cannabis grow-up, with cannabis being legal in Canada. The four friends decided to make a day of it and intended to have dinner together afterwards. And unfortunately, there was to be no Last Supper because here's what unfolded next. Oliver and Lucy needed to keep their phones at home day of to make it look like they never left their condo, and they asked an absolute dullard of a friend to hand over his SIM card for a burner he'd use, and the friends obliged. For the getaway car, Oliver bought a white Audi for $18,000 and made plans with an automotive ne'er-do-well to dispose both the Audi and Pratt's Range Rover by shipping them to Europe where they'd be stripped for parts. Wow. With their seemingly foolproof plan in place, it was time to spring into action. Oliver snuck out of their condo using the stairs, which did not have security cameras. But ever the princess, Lucy insisted on taking the lift, which was, of course, heavily surveilled. But don't worry, she donned a disguise. She wore a blonde wig that she had for some TikToks, and occasionally she would wear it when they had sex, so she used that to get away. Oliver and Lucy pulled up 45 minutes late and found Pratt and a 13-week pregnant Romano waiting for them. Leading them to the door of the warehouse, they suddenly realized they hadn't thought this through, and they didn't anticipate the door being locked. Lucy pretended to look for a lockbox while a cold, hangry, and pregnant Romano got back into the Range Rover. Pratt started demanding to know where the realtor was, getting angrier and angrier until a panicked Oliver pulled out a 9mm handgun for some reason and pointed it at the pregnant Romano in the car. "Get out of here, Joe," he said, shaking, but didn't wait long enough for her to react, firing several shots at Romano, with one hitting her squarely in the chest. Pratt had only enough time to scream, "What the fuck, bro?" before Carafa turned the gun on him. Carafa shot Pratt 5 or 6 times in the head and chest before he collapsed onto the pavement. Oh my God. See, I could not kill someone. Ugh. Oliver and Lucy took the slain couple's phones and a bag of $20,000 Pratt had on him, pulled Romano's lifeless body out of the car, and drove both vehicles off the property, ditching the Audi nearby and returning the Range Rover to, I guess, dot their I's and cross their T's that the crime scene was staged to look like a drug deal gone wrong. But they noticed one small, huge problem. Romano's body was gone. They drove around for an hour, frantically looking for her, thinking surely she couldn't have survived, but decided they'd spent too long around the crime scene. They abandoned the cars, disposed of the gun, and still covered in blood, flagged a cab ride to their condo. Settling into a relaxing evening after first-degree murder at home, Lee was scrolling her phone when their nightmare came true. Romano had been found alive. The bullet had pierced her heart, and though she was bleeding profusely, she had regained consciousness. Afraid for her life and the life of her baby, she managed to crawl down to the curb. A few minutes later, a good Samaritan spotted her on the road. By the time the paramedics and police arrived, Romano was barely breathing. The police, casing the scene, quickly found Pratt's body along with a keychain bearing a picture of his young son smiling in a hockey uniform. The race was on. Oliver returned his idiot friend's SIM card while Lucy packed a small Louis Vuitton backpack with her wig, some bullets, and their murder clothes. And the two rode like the wind in Lee's Mercedes northbound. Apparently they thought they'd ride out the rest of their lives in the Canadian wilderness, because I have no idea where they thought they were going heading north. They ran out of gas near a general store in Muskoka, Canada's Cotswolds, and decided to ditch the car. They also threw the bag of evidence, which included a lottery ticket with Pratt's signature on it, into a nearby trash can. Then they taxied back to Toronto, where they caught a train to Montreal and flew to the Czech Republic. What? Despite some serious injuries to her heart, Romano survived, but her pregnancy did not. After 3 days in a coma, she awoke and identified Oliver and Lucy as shooters. After landing in Prague, the stupidest fugitives spent some time in Slovakia, where Oliver's parents live, then settled in rural Hungary and obtained fake Slovakian passports. In mid-June, the Hamilton police and Hungarian fugitive active search team tracked them down in Budapest, where they were hanging out, where else? The club, and took them into custody. Oh my God. At first, Lucy agreed to return to Canada voluntarily, with her mother offering to spring for a private plane for the officers sent to retrieve her, but they declined. When the lead detective asked about her flight back, she complained about the tight legroom, as she was not used to flying economy. At first, Lucy played misinformed bystander until the detective revealed that Romano had confirmed her presence during the shooting. Lee clammed up. "I think I'm going to wait for my lawyers for this part," she said. She's not like entirely wrong, but she's just missing a lot of information. I think after I give you the full story, though, it will make a lot more sense for everyone. It's just so PC right now, she said. For police, it was less PC. The two had left behind voluminous evidence, less breadcrumbs than whole loaves. Surveillance cameras had caught them at just about every stage of the crime. In the condo lift, at the shooting location, dumping the Range Rover, and en route to their various pit stops. The police didn't need anyone's phone to access messages about the meetup. They were able to subpoena texts that outlined the entire plan, including one dating back to their initial meeting with Pratt and Romano, in which Oliver texted Lucy, "I hope these R words have money." While Lucy was back behind bars in Canada, Oliver was fighting extradition in Budapest, claiming his life would be at risk in Canada by fellow drug dealers avenging Pratt's death. A judge noted that if Pratt was connected, he could get him anywhere in the world, so back to Canada he went. The trial began on April 10th, 2024, with Lucy and Oliver tried together, but with different lawyers and different narratives. While Oliver's lawyers pleaded that it was an act of self-defense against a violent drug dealer, Lucy's strategy wasn't as valorous. Her lawyers argued that she was essentially too dumb to be part of any criminal conspiracy. I love that her parents are paying for the lawyers, and her parents like co-signed this defense. They were like, just say our daughter's too dumb. She's too dumb. Despite the fact that Oliver had been controlling, manipulative, and a chronic cheater, they said, Lucy had failed to recognize any red flags in their relationship. This is a direct quote from her defense. Lucy Lee is a distinctly flawed, naive, superficial, entitled, sometimes vacuous, irresponsible, and quite juvenile human being. She has many moral failings and conducted herself poorly and immorally, but that does not make her a murderer. Mrs. Lee concedes she may be the stupidest person in the room. Does that mean Lucy concedes, or her mother, Mrs. Lee? Because I knew this would be coming from like an Asian mom would be like, my daughter's so stupid. Just tell them how stupid she is. Oh my gosh. On May 24th, 2024, the jury rendered a verdict. They didn't buy Lucy's attempts to play dumb or Oliver's claims of self-defense. The evidence of premeditation, the arrangement to dispose of the cars, the SIM card loan, the extensive security footage was overwhelming. Oliver and Lucy were both found guilty of first-degree murder in the killing of Pratt and the attempted murder of Romano. The convictions triggered a mandatory life sentence with no possibility of parole for 25 years. I don't think that's even true in Canada. I think you get like a life sentence in Canada is only like 15 years. Because I know people who've had life sentences and they are out, living it up. Oh, but maybe that was 25 years ago. We are old now. No, it wasn't. They got out after 15 years. Despite their convictions, they still seem to believe in the existence of a get-out-of-jail-free card. Oliver recently filed an appeal, and Lucy is shopping around for a new lawyer. A cool little true crime tale for you out of Canada. I love Andrew sometimes going off-piste like that. He's like, you know what? It's doom and gloom in the news. Let's hear about a dumb young couple killing some drug dealers. I don't know if this is like influencer culture gone wrong, or if these two, well, they're definitely sociopaths. I worry that almost everyone is a fucking sociopath now. So they're that. They're dumb and entitled and just that crazy. I remember someone said that a generation where the child has to like go next door and ask to borrow a cup of sugar is safer than the generation we're in now, because there's no face-to-face contact anymore. People are just not just dumb and greedy and violent, but they're so disconnected. Because if you're connected to the human condition, you can't actually kill someone. You can't like shoot a woman in the car, and then her boyfriend must have been huge if it took like 6 shots for him to finally collapse. And to stand there and shoot someone 6 times, like I can see the gun going off once and you panic, but 6 times, like aimed at a person. In the musical Hamilton, when Alexander Hamilton tells his son Philip to go into the duel, he's like, don't worry, like march and then turn and fire at the sky. A gentleman just shoots at the sky. He'll shoot at the sky, you'll shoot at the sky. You don't want to kill this other boy, it'll be on your conscience, it'll ruin your own life. So his son does the honorable thing. He fires at the sky, but the other boy shot his son and then his son was dead. It takes a lot to shoot someone, and not a lot of good stuff. You're not a gentleman if you shoot someone. Thank you, Andrew. It's doom and gloom in the news. It was nice to hear about a little true crime. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. Please look after each other. I'll see you next week.